Hey, Virgo, Mel, intuitive coach here, excited to bring in your August 2025 monthly reading. If you are interested in a personal reading, signing up for the monthly newsletter, or entering into the free reading giveaway, you can find all of that information in the description box below the video. All right, Virgo, what is in store for you in the month here of August? You have law of attraction. Beautiful. You are in a period of manifesting. No surprise as we near your season. So happy birthday to those of you sun sign Virgos out there. Now you also have here healing and self-love. So you've been working a lot on resetting your own nervous system, focusing on acceptance, and gaining more confidence here in who you are and the lifestyle choices and changes that you are making. I feel like your belief system here, excuse me, has also adjusted or shifted in some way. So you have been taking a look at things that are outdated, maybe things that you've outgrown, old stories that no longer serve you. I feel like that is part of the healing. It's part of the self-love piece coming in. Now, some of you may have even gone through some health issues, okay? There may have been some health dynamics that you felt stuck in, okay? I see that you are returning to a sense of strength. There may even be some gentle strength training, walking, yoga, maybe even PT or exercises that you are participating in at this time. This is about closure. I feel for some of you, you had been resisting maybe an ending, okay? Or maybe someone around you was resisting some sort of healing, like not knowing how to take accountability or maybe not wanting to take accountability in some way. But I feel like there's a lot of nurturing showing up here in your reading. You start off with the Empress, who is the mother of all, right? She is the mother of creation, of nurturing. She could be an actual mother as well. But this is about health. It is about supporting your health. Some of you have gone through grief. You've gone through loss. Maybe there has even been, a loss of a loved one here, or the loss of an identity or a relationship. So I certainly see that you have been in this healing phase, but this is a month where things shift because the stars are shifting here in your sign. And I see that the healing and the work that you've been doing is going to pay off. And some of you are questioning, is this ever going to pay off? Are things ever going to shift for me? I keep putting in the work, but I don't see a lot of results. I certainly see that you are not only going to see the results if you haven't already, but there's a new invitation, a new opportunity, a start of a fresh beginning here on planet Earth. This is about you loving you. Being in this energy here of compassion for yourself. Remember what I said about gentle strength, whether it's through tears, whether it's through boundaries. Maybe it's a nice, brisk 20-minute walk. It could be saying no when you mean no. I feel like you have really been working on nurturing and taking care of your own needs, because you may do so much for others that sometimes you may deplete what's in your own cup. This is about rest, and you may be getting a bit of rest this month, or perhaps you're putting something to rest, maybe putting someone to rest here emotionally or mentally. This is also about self-care, which we've been talking about. So it feels like you are being taken care of. Maybe there's someone here who is helping you out. When you were younger, and if you were blessed to have, a parent figure who may have brought you chicken noodle soup when you were ill, or may have made sure that you were as comfortable as you possibly could be. Maybe some of you were blessed enough, fortunate enough to have had that. And at this point in your life, when you get sick, you're wondering who takes care of me. And maybe it's not just physically sick. It could be though, but it could be emotionally or mentally. And I have a feeling there is some sort of support here for you where you are able to receive help, either support. It could be financially, it could be emotionally, it could be mentally. Maybe this is a therapist, it could be a coach, a doctor, a trusted loved one, a spouse, a partner, a family member. But it does feel like you are receiving some sort of help here. And I feel like you're allowing it. That is gentle strength as well, by asking for help and receiving it. Because things are shifting here where you are manifesting and bringing things into your life that you've been wanting for quite some time, but maybe you felt like you were stuck in a sacred pause, right? Maybe you felt like things weren't showing up in the timing that you had hoped for or that you had wanted. And sometimes it may have even felt like a far off pipe dream. Maybe you've wondered if something was ever going to happen. The law of attraction is showing up here. And I love when this card shows up because it talks about vision boards and the 8-8 portal that we have in the month of August, which I'll do a separate video on that portal. It is so profound. Every year I make a vision board on the 8-8 portal or within a week or so before or after, because the energy is so intense. And that portal, yes, it intensifies our choices, but it gives us that gentle strength to jump into a new timeline, because what are timelines? They are choices. And I feel like you have some choices here that you are facing that could shift and alter your outcome, meaning you could have a new outcome than maybe what you thought you were going to have. And I feel like this is for the better. It feels like this is a very loving, very nurturing, very abundant outcome here in some dynamic. Now, if you do currently have a vision board that you have created in the last 12 months, I want you to look at the left part, the left side of your vision board, not even just the lower left quadrant or the higher, quadrant. I want you to look at the entire left side, because it feels like the left part, that's also our divine feminine, right? It's the feminine energy of the left side, just like the body. And I feel like you are softening into, opening up to receiving. If you have that vision board, look, I would love to hear it. In fact, for those of you that would like to be entered into the free reading giveaway, let me know. And maybe you can do this right now in your mind. What is showing up? What is it that you've been wanting? Allow yourself to receive it. Drop it in the comment section below. Now, this is also about positive affirmations, magnetic energy, and an abundant mindset, because you're choosing you. You're choosing to fill your cup. You're choosing relationships and hobbies and events and circumstances that motivate you, that uplift you, and that inspire you. And I feel like if you've been stuck in a bit of a routine, your body may be craving movement, okay? Your mind may be craving expansion, and your spirit may be craving, flying, spreading your wings here to some new capacity. So you have here belief system at the bottom. So Virgo, when belief system shows up, you're doing a lot of thinking, possibly reprogramming through neuroplasticity. It means that you are training your mind to think of a new story that you want for yourself, right? This is about you taking a look at any beliefs that limit you, right? And also taking a look at the beliefs that inspire you. And are you living the best life that you possibly can for yourself? Are you participating in your own life, right? Are you being an active participant, or are you, settling into an old default, an old story, an old wound, telling yourself, well, this is how it is. I have a specific family member that uses the saying, it is what it is. And it drives me bonkers, although I've, accepted that's their mentality, that's their energy. But they say that often, it is what it is, leaving it up, like leaving it as a closed door. Like, this is how it's going to be. There's no changing it. And I am the complete opposite, where, it is what you make it, right? There's always a shift here, even if the energy, or excuse me, the physicality of it, maybe the situation externally you may feel like you're stuck in. You don't have to stay in that mindset, right? You don't have to respond in the same exact way that feels depressing or that feels unsettling. You can shift your perspective, you can shift your energy, and you can even make choices that can help you shift out of the physical environment of a situation, even if it feels like you're stuck in it for the time being. And that's where we choose new timelines, right? Through those choices. This is about self-talk, prayers, reprogramming, limiting beliefs, and higher power. Because Virgo, it feels like you have been connecting more to your higher self. You've been maybe working with your angels, your guides, maybe even ancestral energy here. It feels like some of you may have even had to go through a time where you were healing or mending from a childhood wound, or maybe a relationship that has been here since childhood. Maybe this is with a parent, or maybe it's with a sibling. Maybe it's with your own child. I am getting the energy of child here. But I feel like you are connecting to something deeper within yourself, right? You are embracing an energy other than just self. It feels like for those of you who've been lonely or isolated or feeling disconnected, you're returning home. And maybe it feels like it's been the long way home, right? Maybe it feels like it's taken a long time to get to a point where you feel satisfied or you feel spiritually aligned, but I feel like you are getting there, and your belief system is shifting in a more positive way. It feels like you're starting to feel more inspired. You're starting to feel more compassionate. And I feel like you are ultimately creating a life that you are proud of. Now you have the Empress showing up as your first energy out here. Now, as I mentioned, she's the divine mother, and she gives birth to life. She is the creative, right? She is the wife. She could be the nurturer, the lover. She is someone who is very much open to giving. And I feel like you have been tending to your own garden emotionally and mentally, meaning you are lovingly planting the seeds and you are watering your garden. And it also requires that self-care piece by pulling out the weeds, right? Taking a look at the things that may suffocate certain things from growing in that beautiful garden that you are planting in your own life, right? What is it that feels suffocating, right? What is it that feels like you are ready to maybe carefully pluck it out of your life? And I see that by doing so, you're creating a better environment for the things that you truly want to grow to be able to blossom in a hearty way. And then you're able to have this surplus, right? You're able to have plenty to be able to give and share with others. It's not just a garden where you're planting, one carrot for yourself, right? It feels like this is a plentiful garden that you are creating so you can join in on that connection, that sense of belonging, instead of feeling like you are separate from others or separate from source. Now you have the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands can be the energy of resistance. You may have either been in resistance yourself or someone around you, or it just feels like the very thing that you were striving for, it feels like you've kept hitting that brick wall. As you see, his arms are crossed. His body language is saying, I'm not open to this, or it's not happening in the way that I had hoped. Now, the Nine of Wands says to me that you are overcoming these obstacles. You are someone who is very, very strong. You have had to face your own strength because you've gone through situations that have brought you to your knees, right? You've gone through situations that have tested your endurance, your willpower. And I see that you are at this point where you are overcoming these external hurdles. This is about boundaries and, renewed determination. And I feel like you are finding a way here, right? You're finding a way. Maybe it feels like, and this is what I'm getting, back to the garden analogy. For those of you that have actually had a garden, sometimes you can get, rabbits. So for example, this year, I have a lot of flower pots all around, and I have gardens that are in like hanging baskets and big planters. And I have had the bunnies come in and eat the tops off of all of my flowers, right? And it's sometimes disheartening because you put all of that energy into it, and they'll come right up on my steps and just chew off the tops of my flowers. And at the same time, it does feel like, okay, well, what do I do? I can't build this little fence. And some of you have, right? You've built fences around your boundaries here. You've put that fence up, but then they find a way, they kind of dig through. And for some of you, this is your own thoughts, right? It's your own thoughts that come in and kind of derail the work that you have done on yourself. And sometimes it feels like you fall back into the old default. You're like, well, if I'm just not going to plant anything because it's just going to get, ate, right? It's just going to get destroyed because no matter what, they find a way in. And I see here that you are trying a new tactic. You're trying a new technique. I know I certainly will be next year, but I feel like you could be maybe planting something that is not going to be, maybe they don't find it delicious, right? Maybe this is something that you do for you, and maybe you ask for help in the garden. Maybe you come up with some sort of new boundary that you haven't before. It just feels like you are finding a way to continue growing instead of letting, a person, place, thing, thought, or even belief hold you back. Because that's been the cause of some sort of resistance. Just putting a hand up, crossing your arms, saying, I just don't know if I want to do this because it just keeps, it feels like it's hard, right? Well, here you are moving into this 9, right? So we go from the 9 of Wands into this 9 of Pentacles, which I love the 9 of Pentacles because it is about creating a life that you are proud of, right? You're proud of the garden that you have created. So I do see that you're finding ways to keep that garden of yours beautiful. And your strength is going to overcome the frustration of the thoughts, because reprogramming through neuroplasticity doesn't mean you are going to think of something once, right? It doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to do the work once in the garden and it's going to be great. No, we have to maintain it. We have to continue telling ourselves that thought day in and day out. We have to continue, putting the energy into the garden, because that is going to become our default. We are going to then, fall back into that beautiful work of art that we've been creating, instead of the default of I'm giving up, or, whatever stories that come with the resistance here. And so this is you saying, even though there have been setbacks, even though, the bunny got in and got to my flowers or my herbs or whatever it is that you've grown here, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, it feels like you are finally getting to that point where, you got the rose here. You got the rose. You've had to address some thorns, but she is proud of what she has created. She is self-sufficient and independent. Your hard work here is paying off. So Virgo, pat yourself on the back. You have come a long way. And I don't know if I mentioned, I may have, but happy birthday to those of you sun sign Virgos out there. I definitely see that you have come so far on your journey, and magic is about to happen, right? I really see that because you have the strength here with the Hanged Man. You 3 huge major arcana showing up. And the strength is that 8-8 portal, but it's also about you having the inner strength here to see things from a new perspective instead of just the perspective of, I'm not going to grow anything because somebody or something is going to come in and destroying it. That is that mentality of it is what it is. There's nothing that can be done. And when you have that mentality, you shut down, and it shuts down the growth. It shuts down the garden. Things aren't able to blossom and grow as you would like. And so I see that that's what you are working on, finding new ways, finding new perspectives. And that is changing everything. You are letting go, you're surrendering and saying, okay, what other possibilities are available? What other choices are available to me here? How can I see things from maybe a way that I haven't? Maybe I've only been looking at the bottom of the fence, but maybe there's something flying over the fence that is getting in, right? Maybe there's a boundary that needs to be strengthened over here. Maybe I miss this. So I feel like you are finding the missing piece, but you're surrendering and letting the divine help you. Right? You are staying abundant here. Where there's a will, there's a way. And the strength tells me that you're not doubting your beautiful self. You're not going to fight something anymore or feel like it's a constant battle. I feel like you are allowing yourself to face some of those difficulties and overcome them, right? Because you are determined to create this life that you love for yourself. And with that type of determination, you're going to go far, right? You are going to go far. And this isn't about pushing, right? It's not about tough love. It feels like it's about compassion, right? The strength energy is compassion. As you see that she is holding on to the crocodile, which means you are taking a look at some of those fears of yours. And I feel like you are being compassionate towards them because at one point or another, those defense mechanisms, those beliefs that you have clung to, they've helped you in some way, or they were there to try to protect you in some way. And instead of judging them, instead of getting mad or angry at them, instead of letting them control you, I feel like you're trying to be gentle and kind, just like this little girl holding on to that crocodile, because there's some fears that you have had that you're saying, okay, I understand you, fear, and now that I understand you, I can make a new choice. That's power. That is strength. And that's going to get you out of this sacred pause, because that's what the pause was all about. That was the lesson for you to learn. And what is the outcome here? Virgo, you have the dream weaver. I mean, the King of Cups is here. This is the energy that you are embracing, maybe even calling in. The King of Cups is someone who's very loving, very supportive, emotionally intelligent, patient, compassionate, kind. Someone who may be emotionally distant until they're able to build that level of trust, until they're able to feel safe and secure. And I feel like you hold that energy for others. You see that there's a little girl that's resting on his chest. The animals are all around him. The parrot representing his self-talk. The black cat, which represents, independence and luck. The beautiful little lamb here, innocence and possibility. And then the frog looking him right in the eye saying, let's leap, right? Let's take this leap towards a new beginning. And that's what's at the bottom of the deck here, the Ace of Pentacles. Now, the Pentacle realm is material gains. It's your home, your possessions, your health, your body, your finances. So you are seeing the growth of what you have planted in that garden manifesting, and you want to nurture it, and you're determined to do whatever you need to do to stay open to growing whatever this is that you've planted. And I feel like it's powerful. I feel like it's legacy material, right? I feel like this is something that is going to shift and change your external world in some way because you've been doing the inner work. Again, pat yourself on the back. I am getting a message here as well. Oh, goodness. Some of you may have maybe an animal that, or a pet, a loving pet that has crossed over, and you may have their like memorial in your yard, okay? Or you may have like a sacred stone or like maybe an angel statue that is atop of maybe where they were buried. Maybe some of you maybe you live near a like cemetery, or perhaps there's a new plot that is being made here. That's a very, very interesting message, but it feels like honoring, okay, honoring death. I mean, that could be symbolic. If you're like, Mel, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anything buried in my yard, or, if that's not resonating, it could be like honoring letting go, like honoring the old, but yet embracing the new, saying, I'm going to live my best life. Okay. It feels like you're honoring here the process of rebirth. That's what's happening here. All right. And we have for wealth, abundance, money, career, you have the student. Work with a mentor to learn new skills or to teach you how to implement your plans. Yeah, because you have this energy here of maybe being a teacher yourself. Some of you may have students. Maybe this is your children. Maybe some of you even like homeschool. But I also see that you're learning a lot at this time. You may even be curious, taking some classes, courses, workshops, or maybe you are enrolled in a higher learning. All right, you could work in a school district to pursue higher education, or like be in a school district here to help others pursue that education. You may also be teaching yourself how to succeed with money, or maybe even getting a financial advisor, because you have this abundant energy showing up here. And you could even be reading books, maybe like Think Rich, Grow Rich, or is there a rich dad one? I think I feel like you are listening to things, maybe podcasts, or you're looking at the market, maybe even looking into like cryptocurrency or anything of that nature. I feel like you're studying. You could even be growing or learning a new skill or craft so you can enhance your abundance. Okay, enhance your abundance. Now you have the office here. Delegating more can help you increase your earnings. You could be a secretary, staff assistant, office manager, or any job working in an office or where you have to like report in an office-like setting here. Think of the greater good than oneself to achieve a better outcome. And again, it feels like you are in this position here to be able to help others and to be able to see things from a higher perspective. You have this opportunity to create your income or like manifest more income if that is something you are wanting, right? Which I feel like you might be, but you also want to love what you do. You want to be able to put your labors of love into something and maybe make a living doing it. Some of you caregive for others. Maybe you are taking care of, again, your family, or maybe you are creating a business. Sometimes that Empress energy, maybe she's a business owner, or Virgo, you may be someone who, wants to be able to support and help others. You could be a caregiver. Maybe you are like a doctor. You could be in a caring profession. Someone who nurtures others, takes care of others. I'm also getting someone who like does grounds work. Okay. So maybe you work in like a greenery, or maybe you work in like a greenhouse, or you work with landscaping. It could even be like a company that does some sort of labor work, like construction. It just feels like outside, like getting outside could be significant for you as well. But the cutlery is about business tools, needing more money, living well. You could either be the sole provider here, or maybe you work in the restaurant industry or something food related. But this is also about maybe needing more work. Some of you, it's either more work or more fulfillment, more heart and soul in your work. And I feel like that's part of what is shifting here with the sacred pause as your outcome with the King of Cups and that 9 of Pentacles. Pentacles, I definitely feel like it's possible to, do what you love and not feel like you are burnt out, not feeling like you've come to the end here, and you're able to open yourself up. It looks like there is a new invitation or a new opportunity in matters of career, finances, income. So a new income source looks to be appearing after waiting for a long time for things to shift here, or waiting for this invitation or offer to come in. All right, let's look at love. This could be love, romantic, family, relationships, partnerships, coworkers, children. You do have here the Hammer. It feels like you have been putting a lot of work into your own self-discovery. Perhaps you have been, again, a caregiver. That keeps coming up, most likely because of that, well, Empress and King of Cups. But you may be doing a lot to take care of those that you love. And maybe it feels like you're taking care of a lot at work. This can be persistence. It can be sabotage. It can be rebuilding after maybe something has felt a bit sabotaged here. Working on building. I mean, there's the maybe physical labor. Some of you could even be like glass blowers or woodworkers. Maybe you work with metal. This is about repairing. Yeah, it feels like you're trying to repair your love life, or you're trying to repair parts of yourself. There's the healing. There's the self-love that may have felt like lack of confidence, or you may have felt lack of self-worth or self-love. You've been working heavily on reintroducing yourself to yourself. It feels like you're starting to fall in love with yourself again. Yeah, I love that energy here for you, falling in love with life. And I feel like you've been persistent. You are a hard worker here, and you want to see the best side of things. I feel like you want to work things out. For those of you that are in a relationship, I feel like there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of highs and lows with the strength here. But I feel like you want to put in the energy, the effort, or maybe it's not even that you want to. Some of you feel like obligated to, and it could be because someone has suffered from addictions. Okay, maybe this is something you watch growing up. This could be a father, it could be a mother figure here as well. But addictions, they don't look like just alcoholism, right? Or drug abuse. This can be addictions to social media. It can be gaming. It can be food. It can be workaholism. It can be anything that we consumed to the point where it becomes an obsession and a form of escapism. And most of the time it becomes very unhealthy or toxic. And I see that maybe codependency has been a part of this dynamic, emotional blockages. This could be the type of energy that you are healing from. Maybe you're coming out of this dynamic here with the 9 of Swords, and it's part of those weeds that you are pulling out in your garden. And I feel like there may have even been like control dynamics. Oftentimes that Hanged Man, he's in that sacred pause because he's trying to control the outcome. He's trying to control how things are supposed to happen. And I see here that, there's new options. Right? I'm going back to that original phrase, it is what it is. That in a form is trying to keep controlled energy on something. Like, okay, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to control what I think I know here. Maybe that's the type of energy you were dealing with. Maybe some of you have seen this addictive pattern play out within your own self or within others. And I feel like that is something that has caused a bit of resistance, a bit of friction here. But I see that you're choosing compassion without sacrificing your own emotional sense of self. Okay. And for those of you that are looking for love, it does feel like it's been a while. Maybe you've been single for a while, or perhaps you've been in this healing or recovery for quite some time. But it looks like this Leo energy is bringing up some passion. You have the Ace of Pentacles. So there certainly could be someone that you meet in the physical. The passion energy here is the flame, which can be insane chemistry that you have with someone. It may take you by surprise. It could be something that you are manifesting or attracting because you've done the work. You get to see, that work in action. You get to see what you are attracting here. You may be having sparks, sparks are flying between you and another individual, or they're about to be. This is about having fun, equal interest here, and even a burning desire to get to know someone on a deeper level, maybe more intimate level. There may be a lot of, spiritual connections even that you have with this person. Now, of course, the King of Cups could be showing up here where, you really want to nurture and you feel like you are very connected to someone, but make sure that you are not falling back into old patterns or old habits here, maybe around codependency or people pleasing or losing yourself to the point where sometimes we become unrecognizable. So I feel like you are opening yourself up to heart, but opening your heart up, but I feel like you have that strength now that maybe you didn't have in the past, right? You have some sort of like backbone where you're going to stay open to compassion, but you're not going to lose your own integrity along the way. It feels like this is a really beautiful flow of energy coming in for you. All right. And lastly, Virgo, your archetype is the empty room. So let's take a dive into this archetype. What does this mean for you? All right. This is the vortex, the abyss, the nothing. The empty room haunts us all. It is the universal and all too frequent feeling of lack, of wanting, of the craving to fill ourselves with something. Anything. We too often attempt to remedy the discomfort of the empty room by any means necessary, leading us to a culture of more. Ironically, the empty room is filled to the brim with potential, yet we perceive it as not enough. This card is a cry for patience, for sitting within the barren walls of not knowing, for awaiting true vision and purpose before attaching to what we should do next to save our outward appearance. Be with the nothingness, with the impatience. The empty room has immense power. Let others wonder what you are doing. If you can settle in the magic of emptiness, you will soon hear its whispers of wisdom. Now, when this is showing up, Virgo, as the light, it's spaciousness, it's potential, it is possibility. When it's showing up as the shadow or the dark, which is, I feel like this is where you're kind of coming out of. This can be addiction, as it says here. It's insatiability, more for more's sake. The archetype of the empty room is also portrayed as the hungry ghost, always feeding and never satiated. A day of silence is a surefire way to harness the power of the empty room. Now, for those of you Virgos who would like to be entered into the free reading giveaway, I would love to know, what is it that you can do to embrace the empty room? Now, of course, it says here a day of silence. But if some of you feel like those hungry ghosts are knocking on your door, this is what is being called. So let me know, what does the empty room mean for you? And what action steps maybe can you take to, sit with this for a moment? Sit with that impatience, because sometimes the hanged man can get really impatient, but I feel like that's part of the healing, right? This is part of you, embracing the next step here. So sit with that emptiness, sit with that impatience here. And I definitely feel like you are opening yourself up to possibility here, to potential. So that is what I have for you, Virgo. If you enjoyed today's message, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share, like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, happy birthday to those of you sun sign Virgos. Till next time.